Welcome back to the Michigan Business Beat, brought to you on the Michigan Business Network. Chris Holman here, coming to you from the island, the Big Island, the Grand Hotel, and we are here for the Detroit Regional Chamber of Commerce's annual policy conference. And Chris Rizik is with us right now. He's the CEO of Renaissance Venture Capital. It's good to have you here, buddy. Always good to see you. Like you said, this has become kind of an annual date for us.
It sure is. It's great to see you, Chris, and great to see the work you're doing again this year.
Well, listen, we're supporting people like you who are actually getting it done. Let's give them a little schooling here on Renaissance.
Sure. So Renaissance is a fund of funds. So we invest in venture capital funds around the country under the condition that they get engaged here in Michigan. So we help them find startups here. Ultimately, they make the investment decisions, but they need to get engaged, and it's worked out well over the last 14 years since I started it.
So this is kind of interesting because you're like a lure, basically, yeah. and you are funding the people who then go out and fund. So what do you look at in other venture capital funds that say to you, these folks are going to be successful?
Yeah, so when we're looking at funds, we're looking for people who have a track record of success, that are good at helping startups to grow. So we look for their track record, also how much they're going to engage locally. Are they investing in the type of things that Michigan is good at? And are they going to be spending time at the universities or in the community looking at opportunities here?
Yeah. So what got Chris Rizik into this in the beginning when you started this fund?
Well, so I was a venture capitalist. Actually, Rick Snyder and I were partners in a fund called Avalon and then Ardesta, and then had this concept. Having done venture capital in the Midwest, I felt it was really underserved. And so the idea was, how can we attract capital from the rest of the country, really with the belief they can make really good money here in Michigan, but they can also be helping create new industries and new companies here. And Renaissance was the sort of unique model that we created back in 2008, and it's worked out well, and actually what we've done has been now replicated in 3 other parts of the country.
Well, and the irony is when you started is exactly when our lack of venture capital here in Michigan was identified. And it was like, we got to get some money in here and some risk takers.
That's right. I mean, we were always sort of a middle of the pack state. Even though from a research standpoint, we were top 5, top 6, great universities and great corporate research, we just weren't capitalizing on that in creating startups like other parts of the country were.
Yeah, and a little of that was artificial because when you look at like one of those barometers is patents. Yeah. Well, a lot of those came out of the auto industry,
That's true.
They're driving that way. So let's talk a little bit, because everybody's sitting out there right now going, oh yeah, I know venture capital funds, they invest in 15 companies, and if one of them hits, then they're even, right? So are the close rates a little higher than that, or?
Yeah, I think probably the successful rates are more like 2/3 to 3/4 now.
Oh, wow.
Certainly from a money standpoint, and a lot of times the funds will do really early stage, just trial balloons, and if something doesn't work, then they just move on or they morph it into something different. It's become more sophisticated, certainly, than the old days of 1 hit and 9 misses.
Yeah. Well, and regulations in the bank too kind of push better investors your way, which the banks are still kind of rejecting in some cases. So tell me about one of your big hits, one of your home runs.
Well, I mean, obviously the most famous of our hits was Moderna. So we invested in the fund, Flagship Ventures, that founded Moderna in their offices. And so, we knew about Moderna 2011. We had no idea where it was going to go. In fact, it was really aimed at something other than being a vaccine company. Ultimately, it will be too. It'll be treating cancer and other things where your body trains your body to treat itself. Vaccines just happen to be right time for this.
Yeah.
And I mean, if the pandemic had happened a year earlier, we wouldn't have had the Moderna vaccine probably.
Yeah. To the normal investor, it takes a really trained eye to look at a company who loses a little less every year and say, that's a winner.
Right. No, you have to look. It's a really long-term game we play. I mean, when we make an investment, we're thinking 10 years out. And can it ultimately, if it achieves its goals, what does that mean? And usually it means a pretty significant change in some part of the world or some important area for the world. Yeah. And those are the big hits that you talk about.
Yeah. Have you been affected much by world happenings? I mean, I'm thinking of the Ukraine and how that backs up a supply chain, et cetera. Have the companies you've invested in?
If you're looking now, what are hot areas? It has to do with what's going on in the world. There's a labor shortage, so we're seeing a lot more automation technologies and machine learning, et cetera. The supply chain issues, supply chain technology is very important right now. So technology is sort of adapting to what does the world need right now.
Yeah. Chris, you had an event recently that was kind of unique. Tell us a little bit about that.
So every year we do something we call Undemo Day. We work with the local universities and angel funds, and we usually will identify what are the 50 best startups in the state, and let's help them to find funding. So we'll get lots of venture capital funds from around the country. It's been very successful. This year we did a special focus on diverse founders. So we looked around the Midwest, had 130 companies participate, startup companies run by women, African American, Latino founders, et cetera. And we had 300 venture funds from around the country come in, 500 one-on-one meetings as well as large group presentations. Just nothing like it anywhere within 500 miles of here. If it works out the way we think, we'll probably see 10 to 20 of those startup companies get investments from investors they never would have met but for Undemo Day.
That you talk about being a lure and a broker. That is really and getting that sector healthier is really important to all of us.
It really is, and it was free for everybody.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be really impactful.
Awesome. Well, listen, best of luck. I mean, you are where the money is and where the smart money goes, and we appreciate you doing that and getting things upright here in the state of Michigan.
Great, and thanks for all you and your team are doing. You really get the word out well, and we appreciate it.
Well, it's about getting the word out. That is what we do, and you're right. But there's a good word to get out too.
All right.
Chris Rizik, he is the CEO of Renaissance Venture Capital. You're watching the Michigan Business Beat on the Michigan Business Network. I'm Chris Holman, coming to you from the Policy Conference on Mackinac Island. We'll be right back with more.